There we go.
Morning, Ed.
Hi. I think, is it set up as a webinar?
Yeah, I was just looking at the waiting room to bring people in. Yeah, we decided to transition over to webinar format after our Zoom bombing incident
Oh, okay.
several months ago. So just waiting and watching the waiting room here so I can let people in. But good morning to all of you that are in at this point. And sorry for any confusion on the start time. The town calendar has it listed as 11 o'clock. And our town clerk is out of the office today, so it wasn't a quick, easy fix on my end. But we'll get it corrected going forward.
Did I hear you say it's going to be in webinar mode now?
Yeah, ever since the Zoom bombing incident, they've been in webinar format, but I'm just promoting everyone to a panelist. So it's really no different once you're promoted as a panelist. It's an open, free conversation. I just want to make sure that I'm not, I want to be able to recognize who I'm promoting before I do. And anyone that I don't recognize in the waiting room will just be parked there. They'll be able to watch, but not join in the dialogue. And Chris Rembold's going to join us in a minute to discuss the rapid recovery grant.
Mark, have you heard anything about people trying to sign up on the site for the newcomers?
I haven't heard anything, but we did receive an email from one of the recipients who was very thankful and pleased to receive a letter from the town.
Great.
Yeah, so that's good news.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll forward along the email. She sent along an email yesterday saying what a nice letter it was and how thankful she was to receive it. And so
That's super.
one happy customer at least.
Yeah.
And I think we've sent out somewhere in the range of 120 letters. So at some point soon, we should talk about the next mailing.
Yep.
When that, running a new list, because I'm sure home sales are continuing at a similar pace, if not a faster pace.
And also, I guess, how we're going to do an outreach if we're not getting people to sign up through the town, so that we can actually schedule a meeting.
Yeah. Morning, Richard.
Good morning. Can I raise an objection?
Please do.
I can't, I have to use my VPN because you're blocking Mexico.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I'm probably the only one that it affects, but
Yeah.
that's why I'm a little late. I had to find my VPN and sign on with that.
I'm sorry, Richard. I was aware of that last month and I forgot to address it, but we can certainly address that.
Thank you.
Looks like Joe Grockmel's coming in to join us. Good morning, Joe.
Oh, there he is.
Hey everyone, how's it going?
Joe, I want to see you take those headphones off for a second and show us what you want to show us. Nice.
Oh, he does have ears. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I just got that haircut.
It's tough taking the headphones off, Robin, because at risk of sounding a little vain, I can't hear all the compliments, but I'm always open to hearing them now.
Okay, enough. Yeah.
All jokes aside, nice to see everyone.
Morning, Joe. Just keeping an eye on the waiting room here and we'll get started in just a second. Did all of
Mark,
you? Yeah, go ahead, Richard.
I just went brain dead on his name. The guy working on sponsorships for the music.
Gene.
Gene Carr. Yeah, has he kept you apprised?
Yeah, Gene and I speak at least once a week. He's been
good.
sending me emails in between. And in fact, I invited him this morning. I was hoping that maybe he would provide an update to the group, but he may have a conflict, so.
He had a loss in the family, but I'm meeting with him at 1:30 today.
Oh, okay. That's too bad.
I mean, from what I gather, which is probably what you already know, is that he's been mostly successful in reaching out, at least the people I advised him to speak to, and I'm sure he has additional ones. So that's really quite heartening.
I'm not sure how many of you received his email yesterday, but he's looking for connections to potential donors. So if you can
Right.
open the door for him to anyone or any local business, if you have any really solid connections, he would love to hear from you.
Yeah, maybe if Terry Cowgill is actually listening and not just putting in time, he could write a little article about that fundraising effort. Terry, you think you could do that?
I
Here he is.
am doing more than just putting in time. Yes, I suppose I could do that. We can touch base about that later.
Yeah, I'll send you Gene Carr's contact info because he's heading up the effort and knows the details of it. But it's really been a great town-wide effort to support this.
Hey, Terry, are you coming into town today? Because he's going to be at my shop at 1:30 for us to meet. You want to stop by and talk to him for a few minutes?
I am actually at the office, so I'm here.
You want to stop by at 1:30 and meet him
Sure.
and maybe talk to him?
Yeah.
Great.
In the meantime, Terry, I'll forward his email from yesterday.
All right.
He also put a link in there to his website for Berkshire Bus, which is up and live now and open to the public. So that might be a good resource for you also.
Okay. Sounds good.
Robin, how is the foot traffic in your business?
We're seeing on the weekends, it's at 5 o'clock, the sidewalks roll ups on Saturday. On Sunday, it's even more of a challenge, Richard. Such a large number of businesses have decided to close on Sundays. I'm noodling around ideas to reach out and change that, especially now that the weather is warmer. And, I get that everyone's tired, but it really makes a difference when people just say, oh, well, I'm not going in on Sunday, or I'm not going in late Saturday afternoon. March was pretty decent because my understanding was the schools staggered spring break. And I mean, schools across several states, not just within Massachusetts. And I understand that there's some spring break still going on in April, which has helped.
Well,
But-
I'm tracking the movie situation, and at least what I can tell from the Beacon, it's. I guess I haven't compared it to their previous actual year, but it seems pretty thin.
Yeah.
But what is interesting, it's the kids' movies that's really tops the charts.
Yeah, I don't use my business
So-
as a barometer because of the kid element. Parents are so desperate to get the kids out and into any place that's kid
Right.
friendly or kid appropriate. But there's a big difference between talking to me and talking to one of the women's clothing stores or to a gift shop.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
All right, let's get started. It's about 10 after 10, and I know you all have busy schedules, I'm sure. So I think this is a small, comfortable group. I don't need to introduce myself. We all know each other here, I believe. So I wanted to, at this time, welcome Chris Rembold. He's our speaker for the week, and I'm sure you all know Chris as well, but he's here to talk about the Rapid Recovery Grant and how this may help our downtown economy. So Chris, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Mark. Hi, everybody. Good to see you all. I think most of you may know about this program, but the local Rapid Recovery Program is an initiative through the state's Department of Housing and Community Development's Downtown Initiative And we were lucky enough, we submitted a grant request to help measure the impacts of COVID on our downtown business community. And part of this program is to investigate ways that we can address those impacts and maybe lay a framework, a groundwork, a foundation for moving forward to be stronger, to be more resilient of a downtown community. So the grant, I think many of you may know this, the grant is a grant of technical assistance. We don't have actual funds to do projects yet. So the first step, and a very important first step, is that business owners or business managers, if the owner's not around, to fill out the survey, which we have now distributed in various ways through social media, through the cultural district, through the Chamber of Commerce e-blasts. So if you haven't filled out the business survey, please do. I'll send it around again to all of you, and maybe you could also send it out to your tenants, to your neighboring businesses. One of the things that's always vexed me is we don't know all of the businesses. We don't have all of the names. We don't have all of the email addresses. First of all, to communicate with folks. And second of all, to ask them questions like this. How are you impacted by COVID? How can we help moving forward? So this is a really important first step. It's something that we've wanted to do for years, to survey the downtown community and understand who's here, understand the types of businesses that are here, you know, how the different types of businesses in different sectors can support each other. This is something that Berkshire's worked on a few years ago with us. We tried to do with, in the early days, the Economic Development Committee identified this as something that we wanted to tackle, but we never quite had the resources to do so. Now we have the resources, so let's try to make it happen and be successful. So the first step is a survey. Let's understand who's here and how they're impacted. The second step will be taking the results of that survey, coming back out to you and the business community, soliciting ideas for quick implementation items. Some things may be simple, some things may be just supporting what we're doing already. Open up Railroad Street to dining, do public bathrooms, put banners up on the lampposts, all of these things which were already in process. But there may also be other projects that come out of this process that we would be first in line for money to implement. So yeah, happy to, I don't want to talk at you the whole time. I would love to answer questions and you know, generate more interest. So fire away.
Chris, a couple of questions. So obviously you're creating a database based on what you have. Maybe at some point you could share it, because I think all of the folks on this call are activists and involved. What I'm thinking is, you know, a list is one thing, but if there's a way to overlay or use Google Maps, because, you know, the way I think about businesses is their location, not just their name. And I suspect in this day and age of technology, that might be doable, but at least sorted by a street address. And I think then many of us might be able to add to it, you know, for you to reach out to.
Well, yeah, thanks, Richard. We don't have that database now. We hope to develop one. I must say that this survey is anonymous. So we will not be collecting, we won't be collecting it in this way, but that probably is a good implementation item to develop such a database.
Chris, at the very start of COVID, Joe, at my request, created what I think is a very comprehensive list of businesses, which is far more accurate than the chambers. And I think there are email addresses for most of the things. I can send you my version of that if you don't have it.
I don't think I have a recent one.
Yeah, I mean, this is not, it hasn't been updated to my knowledge, unless Joe has done something I don't know about for a while, but it's quite comprehensive. And the other thing I was going to ask you, in terms of communication, as a habit for town hall, when you have a major initiative like this and you really want people to know about it, are you, as a practice, always reaching out to the media, to the Edge and the Eagle at least? And I'm thinking less of press releases than of trying to get an actual exchange, sound like between you and Terry, where it's in a question and answer format. You can really speak to what you're asking people to do. I think it's, you know, it doesn't replace what you're already doing, but I think it's an area that would help.
Yeah, thanks, Tim.
Yeah, I would definitely echo that.
Joe, I'm going to suggest that we use, Joe, do you remember you, George, and I took that
Yeah.
list that you and George did, and we did some edits?
These are the kind of things that gives town hall a good mark and people to get involved.
Richard, you're frozen.
Yeah,
You want to try joining again? Mark, can you unblock Mexico and have Richard join the regular way?
Let me see what I can do.
No, I don't
Um,
think it makes any difference, but it's my own internal Wi-Fi that's a little flaky,
Oh.
but thanks. Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't
I
think
think-
it's the VPN. It could
were-
be, but
I think we were talking over each other, but what I want to suggest is, Tim, when the presence of that list became known that you had asked Joe to do it, Joe shared it and he had his colleague George and I edit it. So it has been somewhat edited with some annotations. And Joe, do you have that one, or George should have it?
I still have that one. Again, I think it's current or relatively current as of
Yeah.
August of last
Yeah.
year, which means it is due for a tune-up, which I'm happy to do over the next few days
Yeah.
if that's helpful. And
It's
also
pretty
another,
good.
yeah, I think we're still it's 90% of the way there.
Yeah.
And also wanted to throw this out there to Richard's point. If you're looking for a good piece of software for us to take all of this information and sort of put it on a map and be positioned to collect additional metrics, there's a company called Esri, ESRI, and they have a system called ArcGIS, which makes it really easy for you to take data points and then in turn sort of put them on a map as well and have it in a presentable format. So just something to throw out to the group. But
I have a question for Chris, going back to the grant and how it's going to be used after we've collated the information. I did the survey. One of the points, and I don't remember whether I put it in the comment section at the end, and this relates back to Richard's point, although unfortunately you have the option to be anonymous, is we've noticed a very large shift, and I suspect it's going to stay for the near future, if not permanently, in shopper habits. The survey did not cover that, but I'll give you an example. A shopper comes in now with a family, and it's clear that they've been to what I call a second floor business. So a second floor tenant, not a ground street tenant. It might be a therapist, it might be a dentist, it might be some other kind of service provider, a tax accountant, a bookkeeper. And then they've batched their shopping so that they're combining that occasion with maybe a trip to the co-op, maybe a trip to me, maybe a trip to SoCo, a clothing store, et cetera, et cetera. So they're batching their time in town. And I think that has some implications, not only for how we market, but it underscores the need to move those public restroom requests up. It begets the question of our parking regulations, and it has some other implications that we might want to consider after we get some other data points from this survey, but it's definitely a thing now.
So by you're saying batching their time, so people are coming down and parking once and doing a lot of different things for
Yeah.
a period of time.
Yep. So their need for a bathroom increases because they're in town for longer. Their need for access to parking that might exceed the current limits is increasing. This is all, of course, anecdotal, but I can tell you from the number of people that come in my store this year versus pre-pandemic and have told me that they're here batching. You know, they're just combining all of their going out into one shopping excursion instead of multiple times per week or multiple times perhaps in a given day. And we should address those implications.
Yeah, I think that I bet people are doing that more now that they don't want to go out as much. That may
Yeah.
change, but I think to some extent that's always been the case for downtown, where you come out and you do, you go to the post office, you hit the library, you get a coffee, you go to the movie, you get an ice cream. What I think that's always been. It's a great point, and it's something that we always should keep in mind when we're designing how to get around.
Yep.
If we design a wayfinding system, what are
Yep.
we pointing out to people, where the parking is, how long the regulations are. Yeah, it's a great point.
Chris, on another subject, one of the things I've been thinking about for as long as I've been involved in downtown business is, and I think I might have even said it to this group, is getting Great Barrington on the New York Times map when they deal with Berkshire County. So, being a nice place to live is great for all of us, but it isn't going to put a dot on the map. Okay, having said that, one of the things that goes on that the town, and I don't mean town government, I mean businesses and even individuals, doesn't embrace is when we have the film festival. And I wish I could come up with some suggestions as to how to make that happen. But I'd just like to share that thought. And the film festival has a new executive director, pretty dynamic guy. And when I get back, I'd like, maybe you, Mark, and myself sit down outdoors and chat with him about thoughts, because he's very aware of other bigger film festivals and how the town just goes nuts. You would think that's the only thing going on in Telluride or Aspen or other places. And it's an asset that we just haven't figured out how to leverage to make our town more attractive and people want to come here, because that ultimately is a benefit for everybody.
I agree.
And I just wanted to mention, circling back to what you said earlier, Robin, about public parking and public bathrooms. I do have a few updates to provide. Some of you may be more involved in the budget process and be up to speed, but that's on my list for later on in this discussion.
I saw the public bathroom thing was on the budget. I didn't see something about parking, but good. Can I ask another question of Chris on the economic impact? So after we gather this information from the survey, and I talked a little bit about this to others on this call, is the idea that there would be micro grants or micro loans or some kind of direct access to funds for impacted business owners?
That could be one of the ideas that comes out of the process. Currently we have no organization that can manage that. We don't have business improvement district that can give out small grants. Town hall does not have that capacity using public funds. Maybe, the cultural district is not set up to do that. Maybe we could manage
What about the
it.
CDC,
No.
The
Chris?
CDC may be able to do it. Yep.
The
Yeah, maybe
CDC,
we ought to chat separately about that.
yeah,
Yeah.
And-
Storefront improvement, or inventory or equipment. I'm not going to be the one to go around and say your storefront needs improvement.
No.
But that's something that, yeah, we don't have in Great Barrington, and it's can be really valuable.
From my research on another project about this, both the CDC and the chamber have the ability to set up dedicated separate accounts to manage this in a, accurate and way that can be audited. But my question really is, because we're in what I call phase 2 now of COVID exhaustion as small businesses, and specifically the number of people who are coming in and refusing to be compliant in one way or another, whether it's from laziness or just outright, they're vaccinated and they don't think they need that mask over their nose, leads me to want to continue what we had asked Mark to do and what Mark did when he put, for example, the sanitizing stations out and did some public signage. I think if we had the ability to give some small grants to businesses that would fund the hiring of what we call brand ambassadors, they're really bouncers, for the busy summer season, who would help educate customers as they enter the stores. And these can be high school kids, so it can be a win-win for high school kids that are looking for work. But literally, the number of business owners that I've heard that have said, I've given up, and this is not the time to give up. We don't want to see our numbers rising, but a $5,000 grant per business, a $10,000 grant per business for a larger business would fund that person, and we can put whatever restrictions on it. It has to be a student, it has to be somebody out, a job, to have them be an ambassador for that business, to insist on COVID protocols when they enter the business. That's where I'm going with this.
I should note that Berkshire Regional Planning Commission applied for and won a federal grant to do micro grant assistance. So that program is live, and they have spit it out there. We are in partnership with several South County towns, and I'll push it out to you folks again. It's for micro businesses. I think it's 5 employees or less.
And it's for businesses that didn't qualify for PPP. So I'm talking about businesses that did qualify for PPP or EIDL or other SBA implemented programs, but have used that money. Everyone I've talked to has now used that money, even the second round, and are facing the summer season. And I can use myself as an example, but I could also point to any of dozens of businesses in town that are really worried about when the numbers start increasing, keeping shoppers safe and keeping their staff safe. So I'm just throwing that out there as a much needed way of relieving business owners and managers of some of the burden of enforcing COVID regulations to the extent that they will still exist this summer.
Chris, I don't know if they would consider this part of their mission. I mean, offhand, it doesn't sound that way, but Greenagers, since they're dealing with young people, and Will Conklin, Will Conklin, don't you?
You're saying Greenagers could be
A way to
involved in
implement
ambassadors?
what Robin's suggesting.
I think that I have a feeling that Will has told me that they're fully booked with outdoor projects for seniors already this summer. But there are, the schools strike me as, anyone 16 and older can get a work permit. It's not any kind of work that would preclude the purview of a 16-year-old work permit in Massachusetts in terms of violating labor laws. But it would be such a help to businesses that are exhausted from telling every customer to sanitize, to watch the capacity, to social distance.
Am I the only one who thinks what you're suggesting, Robin, puts very young people in an awkward position dealing with people older than them, taking orders from a kid?
I'll tell you, Tim, from personal experience, we hired a 16-year-old And we hired her in the middle of the summer last year. We gave her extensive training in-house. Joe knows something about this. And it actually has been extremely well received. And in an odd twist, people are less likely to push back on a young person sometimes than they are on an older person.
Interesting. That's good.
So I
Yeah,
think,
Yeah, I was going to say, the way you phrased it may not be the way that Robin is having her people present it, giving orders.
No, well, no, I was,
No, I think your perception is right. I mean, I don't disagree with it, but I think if presented in a very different way,
we
think-
have a training protocol. This was a project that we weren't able to implement for a variety of reasons, but implement among other businesses. But a training protocol has been developed to give to other stores, as not only in the Great Barrington district, and I think this could get us some press. Again, some people on this call know about it more than others, but it's a very well-developed program, and it's a welcoming emphasis on keeping everyone healthy. It's sort of
And
bounced out of Richard's program, the GB Safe program, to take it a step further. And Tim, to your point, it exactly addresses those people who come in already, I don't want to use the word angry, but I'll use it, already inclined not to want to follow protocols. You have a friendly, smizing young person right at the front saying, hey, let me welcome you with some hand sanitizer. And there are ways to do this. We do them. And there are ways not to do this. And some stores do that too.
So it's more of a
for-
welcome and a friendly reminder.
yeah, and for what it's worth, to back up Robin's example, I've had friends who have come to Great Barrington to visit in the last few months, actually, Robin, where they've ended up walking into your store and where their perception of it's positive. It's not someone lecturing you. In fact, it actually can add to the experience when
Yeah.
done properly.
Because they end up thanking us for keeping them healthy. And that's the focus. It's all about the messaging. And as a,
I withdraw my concern.
okay, and, but it's well-founded, and
And not
you
only that, you got to try anyhow.
gotta try.
Exactly. Yeah,
We're not done with this.
what have we
But-
got to lose?
Right. But we're not done with this pandemic. And to the extent
No,
that
sure
people
not.
coming up here this summer are going to think we are done with this pandemic, we're going to encounter that when people come into the stores and no longer want to follow the safety protocols. And
Great.
this is not, we're almost there, but this is not the time to give up. But I definitely respect your question, and you as an advertising marketing guy would know that that's a necessary question to raise, Tim.
Mark, at the end of the call, is there going to be an opportunity for us participants to raise questions?
You know, I always viewed this this virtual coffee time, as just an open discussion. You have my ear, you have Chris's ear, staff. So just feel free, jump right in.
All right, I have a couple of
Question.
things.
I gotta run. I just want to say goodbye. So if you had a
Thanks,
question
Ed.
for me, email me.
One of them, actually, one of the things, Ed, I want to talk about is, goodbye, Ed. Ed and I have been working for a long time with Adam Chait about the fiber on Main Street. And one of the ancillary opportunities that presents is the creation of free, limited distance public Wi-Fi on the street, which, to the point of welcoming, whether it's actually for our residents in town shopping or visitors, if there is a simple way to do that, I think it would be worth doing. It wouldn't be free. In fact, many months ago, Mark, I'll try to find it, I sent you an email among your many avalanche of messages about kind of how it would work, which we could discuss separately. But I think, again, it's one of those soft kind of things that says something good about the town, that there would be the ability to.
Tim, are you aware of how Pittsfield implemented it downtown?
No, actually, I don't think I am, Richard.
I don't remember, because it's a number of years ago. I don't remember whether they partnered with businesses, and put antennas on the upper floors, but I seem to remember at least 3 sites which managed to cover, North Street. More than pointing you in that direction, I don't really know much more about.
Well, I mean, I've had, I'm somewhat of a technologist, and what's needed to be done is not terribly complicated. It's putting some properly placed antennas either on the buildings or probably on the buildings if the utility poles are gone in the downtown area, and then creating a protocol that doesn't allow the businesses that are adjacent to poach that bandwidth, in a permanent way. And these are all things that can be worked out. Can limit the amount of time you're on, et cetera, et cetera. But I just think it's a nice amenity.
I don't like the fact that it's charged. Why does it
Yeah,
have?
I don't.
No, it wouldn't be charged. It would be free.
Oh, you said, oh, I'm sorry, I misheard you. It would
Well,
be
it would
free.
be free. This is provided the town is willing to invest in the infrastructure.
Well, I don't even think so. I think you'll get people. Listen, I have 3 buildings that would cover a hell of a lot of square footage of downtown, and I'll be happy to buy the routers to put
Well,
them in.
it should be a network, Richard. You're getting into the.
Well, yeah, I mean, all I'm saying is that at the end of the day, you need some kind of Wi-Fi signal created by a router or access point or whatever you want to call it. Anyhow, it just doesn't seem that it's all that expensive, and I'd be more
It's
than
not.
happy.
I wasn't saying that it was.
Yeah, I'll be more than happy to put it in and lead the way. If
Well,
you want
I
some
think
people across the street on Main Street, Railroad Street, Town Hall. I mean, I think between that and I'm sure, what's his name, Jaffe over at the Flying Church, I'll bet he would buy into this as well.
Also,
Richard already has the infrastructure up there. The Fiber Connect has already run some permanent stuff up there. So getting a second router up onto Richard's building should be a very easy matter. I know this directly from Adam. So Tim, next time you talk to him, ask him if it's something that can be added to Richard's infrastructure.
What I was, separate from who physically pays for it, the first thing is to decide what is the footprint that is covered. What streets and what have you. That's number one. Number two is creating a few simple rules of how it's used. There's the infrastructure cost, and then there is the monthly bandwidth cost that I think Adam said he would pick up.
Great.
So I guess the question is, if this is something that is deemed a good idea, I'd be happy to sort of, Adam and I talked about it a while ago, is to sort of restart that conversation and then put him in touch with either Richard or with who at Town Hall. Would it be Chris, you, or would it be Mark?
I think
Well, either of us could.
Okay.
work on
Yeah.
that.
All right. Well,
Andrew.
I'll see if I can be the
Just
catalyst.
suggest, since sound like you've given a lot of thought to it, why don't you put together a quick proposal on your best guess on the pieces of the puzzle? I think the streets I outlined is certainly a great beginning. You might want to expand it
Yeah,
down the road.
Richard actually did a map, which I will share.
Great.
And,
Great, and come up with it and send along the rules that you think would best.
yeah, I'll try to find what I sent before and see if that's everything or add to it.
Chris, can
Yeah.
you add, as part of the economic impact grant money, some signage if this happens, that we want signage to let customers know at the street level that this exists?
Yeah, that's a great addition to any sort of wayfinding, welcoming
Yeah, that would
signage.
definitely be part of a wayfinding program.
Yeah.
Tim, this is exactly the kind of idea that I was hoping
Yeah.
these conversations would result in. So thank you. I'd be happy to participate in a meeting. I'm sure Chris would as well. And
Okay.
we can bring Adam into the conversation. And I think this is certainly something.
I mean, Adam has been, I think, a really good partner in trying to bring fiber to downtown in a way that is leaves it up to every building owner to decide if they want to participate or not.
Mhm.
And anecdotally, the service that Charter Spectrum is bringing, some people find perfectly fine, and some people find frustrating. But in terms of, let's call it economic development and encouraging entrepreneurs to do business here, fiber really is the gold standard. And one of the reasons is that you have the ability to have much higher upload speeds, which for many people it doesn't matter, but if you have a tech business or a creative business where you're sending huge files, it does. And so having that allows us to, it encourages some of the kind of people we want to have here anyway.
Mhm. Is that
Yeah.
network up and running?
Adam's network?
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it a network. Yes, it's a building by building ad hoc approach.
So he's lighting it as it goes.
He's letting it as he goes, and the first step is to get the building owner to agree, because he has to have access to the building for his equipment.
Right.
But then what he's doing is he's not asking the building owner to put in the system. He takes it tenant by tenant.
Yep.
And so it's a very slow approach, but it is it's working. And I think the more we talk about it, and hopefully the service is good, and we'll get, I think I saw, Robin, in some endorsement that you did of the service, and that really helps, getting other building owners and business owners to say, well, there's a difference and here's why.
Well, and to Robin's point, I find when particularly in airports and other places, when you see free access, you get a different feeling about that entity.
Exactly.
Yep.
And if I may, one other point that we may wish to consider with this, if we're trying to both build out the network and do it in a stylish way with some signage, is to explore the possibility of using smart benches. So there's a company called Strawberry. Basically, it's a bench. It looks modern, sleek. Obviously, there are different versions that you can play with, but it can serve as a Wi-Fi hotspot that's in turn powered by solar. It also comes with charging stations, so someone could sit there, plug their phone in, search the internet. And there's also space on the side of it where you could put either art or, in theory, ads or something of that nature. The final piece I wanted to add on that as well is that those benches, specifically the Strawberry ones, come with environmental sensors, so they can track air quality, temperature, humidity, air pressure, noise pollution, etc. So just some things for us to think about.
That's fantastic.
Wow.
To that point, Joe, and you and I have had discussions about this, I think, and I'm addressing this more to Chris and Mark now, to the extent that we can start showing in a public way in our downtown area some environmentally responsible projects, whether it's these smart benches, we did it with the water stations. I think that will help get us on the map in terms of being innovative, especially if they are innovative, not just copycats of what other towns have done. Mark, you shared with me the Brave Little State, which I've been listening to.
Oh, good.
And Vermont has quite a number of innovative green initiatives, and we could certainly take some of those and adapt them. But Joe's idea of smart benches is a great start, something that's solar powered so that it's not tapping into the grid. It's not costing the town aside from the initial. But I really think that this is something that we should add to our wayfinding project and our overall mission as a town.
And also, if I may throw one other point on top of that, you can also set it up so the bench can track sort of usage rates. So you can see, how many people visited a certain bench. So let's say we have 5 of them, one of them is not being used. We can consider moving that to another location.
Seating is something that I hear a lot about from my customers. It's actually the number 2 after public restrooms. And it's where can we go sit outside and enjoy in a very socially distanced manner. So this is not, this is separate from families who are eating behind in Richard's Space or eating on Railroad Street, but come during the week, want to shop at one of our local spots, get some takeout or go to the co-op, and then sit and relax at a picnic table that just houses their family. So Chris, if that's something that fits the purview of this, and if we can locate areas where a picnic table would be appropriate, I think that we would see a great usage. And if we locate them appropriately, it also creates a vibe in town other than the tumbleweed vibe that we're seeing right now.
I will tell you, I have a perfect view of the town hall park here and the picnic benches out behind town hall. And it's incredible how much the use of those has
Yeah.
increased over the past year.
Yeah.
Even on fairly cold
Yeah.
days, people are willing
Yeah.
to sit out there.
Yeah.
So maybe it's as simple as adding more picnic benches to that park, because that is a pretty central location.
Yeah.
And I can tell by the trash can outside here that people are purchasing takeout and using these benches
Yeah.
to enjoy some.
And also keeping with the theme of smart equipment, there are smart picnic tables that are
Yes.
available as well.
Great.
So solar, again, you can talk Wi-Fi. Another thing, just spitballing here, but it would be interesting if, and this may go way beyond what we're hoping to do, but if we created an app for different sitting spaces in town where when you sit down, you basically scan a QR code, it says that spot's taken. So then, people who are walking around town can see what spots are available or what aren't at a given moment in time.
Yeah, Chris, you'll probably remember when we were on the Main Street reconstruction team, we looked at that because that technology exists for parking spaces.
Parking, yeah.
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 But yeah, good idea.
Worth a shot. Thank you.
Worth a shot, definitely.
Speaking of parking, are we on track for paving the parking lot?
Taconic lot?
Yeah, the Taconic lot.
Yes, on track for fall.
Oh, for the fall, okay.
Yeah, and we are also planning for including infrastructure at that time for not only another water station, but also an electric vehicle charging station.
Can I have an understanding? I'm asking this just as a business owner now. It seems that sometimes I drive into town on a Friday of a 3-day weekend, and all of a sudden I'm hit with some infrastructure project that I had no idea about, and I didn't know where to go. And I'm a pretty regular visitor to the Town of GB page to find this stuff. And Mark, is there some means of avoiding major closures, whether it's a lane or cones on the street, anything on a 3-day weekend? It really hurts businesses, on the Friday before a 3-day weekend in particular, let alone the Monday or Tuesday of a 3-day weekend. And number two, to the extent that emergencies happen, a water main breaks, okay, it happens on a Friday of a 3-day weekend. Are they posted somewhere that I just don't know about, and other businesses?
Is there a specific construction project you're referencing?
I'm going back many, many years to the
Oh,
number
okay.
of times that it just seems a project is planned. And I know that we have a short construction cycle. I'm very aware of that. I'm sensitive to that. So I'm talking outside of emergencies, but planned projects, whether it's painting lines, repainting the lines on the street that happens annually, or an even number of filling in potholes. And I drive in at 8 or 9 o'clock, and it's the Friday of a 3-day weekend, and we have full construction out that's blocking parking or blocking a lane, and it's a disaster. And it seems to me that there should be some means of someone, Sean's office or whomever, looking at the calendar and just blocking off, aside from emergencies, that work is not done on those 3-day weekends. It really hurts town.
We write that into our specs for downtown construction projects. We either have a full blackout or at least the afternoon blackout for Fridays on holiday weekends. There aren't many holiday weekends, but yeah, our construction season is short, but we work that into the contract. Emergencies are obviously different.
Emergencies notwithstanding, Chris, I guess I need to broaden my definition of a 3-day holiday weekend, because it's a little different for us. Camp Eisner drop-off day. That's a huge weekend for us.
A list would be great because we don't know those dates. So
Yep.
send us a list. We can't guarantee that. I think that's a great goal, and I understand how it could be beneficial for the core of downtown. So thank you.
I would be happy to coordinate a list like that. And I don't have the list myself, but I can have organizations reach out to you and tell you what their key weekend periods are. And I think the goal need be nothing more than what you just said, that Friday at noon, the project stops.
Can I use this as a transition off of Robin's comment about notification of things like this in advance? As some of you know, I've been a long time proponent of the need to totally redo the town website. And frankly, not with the firm that's currently doing it. I think the website is not easy to navigate. It doesn't look modern. And also I think we're missing an opportunity in the appropriate ways to use the town website as a messaging platform to attract entrepreneurs and new residents. It has its basic mission, which it needs to do better than it's doing it. But in addition to that, I think there are things that we can do that will make it, again, think of it, it's an amenity. It's like if you're a visitor, however you happen on the town website, which may be randomly, you may be looking for something, it is an opportunity to make a statement about what kind of a town it is. And we're just not doing that.
So we have heard that from a few others, and our website has been identified as a priority, but not a high priority at the moment. So it is on our list of goals.
I've been on this for like 2 years, and I think it's, it really requires somebody focusing on it and identifying what works and what doesn't work. And probably, because there are rules about vendors and what have you, figuring out how to create a scope of work proposal to revisit. I think it's, it isn't a crisis, but it certainly could be a lot better. And I will say more than Robin would say. The way one has to, as an example, the way one has to get to the welcome page to sign up to attend one of these meetings we're talking about. If you haven't done it, I suggest you go through the process and put yourself in the headset of someone who's never been on the town website, and you're interested in signing up for this thing. And it's just really discourages participation. And so the ability to have the website designed in a way that someone in town hall with limited technical skills can add things, change things. Anyway, I could go on longer than we need to. I've made the point. I just think it's extremely important.
Yeah,
Mark,
I would
I don't wanna-
echo that. And the point of view, when you look at the website, it's sort of like a raw library, as opposed to an engaging, what's the user, how is the user looking at that page? And how would they try to find some key things? What is it? Capital One website that I use. What do you want to do? That's one of the choices. What do you want to do? And it then breaks it down by category, subcategory.
Anyway, I maybe, Mark, what you need to do is to create a little, a team that wants to address this and get down into the details and make a recommendation to you.
I
It isn't even so much how it's done. I think what the team needs to identify is pretty much what Tim suggested. If you want to sign up for being part of getting more information about what the town has to offer, that should be, 1 to 2 clicks away. So it's really how it needs to be used, and then go to the functionality of it.
Well, I mean, the way it's architected, Richard, is that's really what you're saying is how is the, what's the capability of the software to do that?
I think that the goal is to accomplish a number of things, one of which is what Tim and Richard are saying, to overcome in one fell swoop the perception that we're not friendly to newcomers, particularly new businesses. Are we allowed to say, hey, we have Joe on this call, and Joe is forming an alliance with Great Barrington to take on some municipal projects? And is this not something that would be an appropriate example of outsourcing and then partnering with the town to make sure it's compliant?
I think that's fair to say. Again, we do understand that our website needs improvements. Just understand on the flip side that our priority list has something like 63 items on it. So
That's all.
although this is one of them, it's not at the top of the list, and we're taking our instructions from our board, who is identifying which items on that list we spend our time and energy on. So I hear you. We're all with you. Trust me, and it will surface.
If you could outsource the work to get ready to pull the trigger on it, you'd have to wait. You don't have to wait for it to get to the top of the list.
Yeah.
The work could be done now so that when it does get to the top of the list, it's just a matter of funding it. It's not a matter of figuring out what to do.
Joe,
So
Right,
I
let's
would
hear from
encourage
Joe.
you to do that soon.
I certainly don't want to be out of line with this, but if the opportunity is open to explore this in my downtime, I'm more than happy to dive in on it and begin looking, if that's
And
helpful.
what hours do you sleep, Joe?
About midnight to 12:01. So it's a healthy minute. But all jokes aside, I would, again, don't want to be out of line with this, but I'm happy to begin looking at it. Mark and Chris, if that's helpful, or standing by if that's preferred, if you have other priorities for me.
and Mark, can we get our intern on these calls?
Yes. Katie?
Yeah. she-
Yes.
It would be nice to have her on for however she might create a post as something, a
Mhm.
great idea that Tim raises, or Richard, or, something that Chris notes, and then promote it.
Yeah, of course. In fact, you're probably your biggest supporter on this topic just joined us, Eileen Mooney. And Eileen, I apologize. The coffee hour did start at 10 o'clock this morning. It was listed on our calendar as 11 o'clock, and I'm really sorry that we will get that corrected. I think she can hear us, but maybe not able to answer us. But there are a few other updates I was hoping to cover since we're approaching 11 o'clock. And then I'm happy to stay as long as the conversation is moving and you would like my time. But I did want to just mention, we touched on the new residence initiative. We did send out somewhere along the lines of 120 letters and we posted a press release. So we're waiting for feedback now, and I will check in on the status of responses. Someone earlier asked where that was. So at this point, we're moving toward hosting some virtual gatherings, and I'm looking forward to those and partnering with you all to bring in some guests. I know it's not entirely town focused, but we'll be happy to provide staff for at least some of those meetings. Outdoor dining is on track for summer start, early summer. We do not have an official start date yet, but I expect the board will be deciding later this month or early in May. Planters have been ordered. Festive lighting has been ordered. We're working on some signage right now, and we're in the process of partnering with the Monument Mountain High School greenhouse program on not only planting those planters, but also maintaining them during the summer so that they can showcase their skills and talents and promote their operations at the high school. So I think that'll be a really excellent partnership. We have commitments now from Baba Louie's, from VSEN, from 20 Railroad, from SoCo and Two Flower. Moon Cloud will also be participating on Friday and Saturday nights, but not in the street. They'll be using the alleyway and the sidewalks in front of their restaurant. So we're in good shape for a really exciting summer. Staff is also meeting, I believe, within the next week or so to talk about whether there is some chance that we could close down Railroad Street altogether and still operate and function downtown without it costing a good deal of money for the town to provide details. So we'll again try to brainstorm and see what we can do and share that information through this platform. And also we have some more folks coming in.
Chris, while Mark is doing that, can we also have, whether it's you or Sean, make an appropriate note again to assign our town's traffic person her help? It was a different person last summer, but her help walking up and down the street and making sure if we're not able to close it off to traffic, but that nobody stops in front of Baba Louie's to pick up and nobody stops anywhere on Railroad Street, and just the overall pedestrian safety factor, because there were problems with that. And then once you all assigned the traffic person to be there on those nights, it was much improved.
Mhm. Traffic and pedestrian safety is our key consideration.
Yeah, but having that person there that whole time was really a deal breaker in terms of safety.
Chief Story was on a call with us yesterday. He's aware that we're interested in having a police presence on Friday and Saturday nights. So
Okay.
we'll continue those conversations as we get closer. Berkshire Busk, you're all probably familiar with that program at this point. I was hoping Gene would be able to join us today and provide a little more of an update, but I'll share his email update with you all. A few other topics I was hoping to cover real quickly. Again, some of these are repeats if you've been joining our finance committee and select board budget meetings, but public parking, some of you probably heard that we are moving forward with proposing a public parking lot at the town meeting this year. I don't anticipate staff necessarily selling it. Just presenting the facts, the cost, the idea, and what kind of revenue we could expect from a longer term parking lot. Robin, going back to your point earlier that people are coming in town and doing multiple stops, whether it's an appointment, some shopping, some eating all at one time. This is the idea behind this parking lot, which would be located right behind our current Castle Street parking lot on the other side of the tracks. The idea is to create a longer term parking, maybe up to 8 hours, so that employees downtown, building owners, business owners can park there for an entire day without worrying about getting a ticket. It will come at some kind of cost. It won't be free, of course, but it will be minimal. But the idea is that we can move some of these downtown employees, including town hall staff, potentially to this location so that we are keeping our downtown parking, the parking that's most valuable right in front of the storefronts available and open, and cars turning over frequently. So if you have, I'm not sure how many of you are Great Barrington residents and can come and speak to that at town meeting, but please encourage your fellow business owners and anyone. Bear with me here, there's more people coming in. Please encourage people to come and at least have the discussion. Staff, when we pitched this to the select board and finance committee in the first meeting of the season this year, was regardless of how the 10 of you feel about this idea and whether it's worth $1.2 million, let it go to town meeting and let the voters decide, because we've been talking about downtown parking for decades. I have articles here from the Berkshire Eagle that go back to the 1930s, 1920s in some cases, talking about parking. And I think this is an excellent time to continue that conversation, because 2-acre parcels in the downtown area are hard to find. And I don't expect any new ones to pop up anytime soon.
So does that give you a good timeline, Tim, for the website revamp? Couple decades?
Well, it's really encouraging. Thanks. Yeah.
Just kidding, of course.
Sure. I just want to remind you, as a non-Great Barrington business owner, non-resident Great Barrington business owner, that a non-Great Barrington resident can speak with Michael's okay, and all you need to do is send Michael an email, tell him briefly what you want to speak to. He gives you permission, and then you have to wait outside usually unless there's capacity, or I'm not sure what your format is this year, but then
We'll
you
be
are allowed
outside
to speak.
anyway.
Yeah. So I don't know, Terry's on this call still. If he's publishing something, that might be something worth putting in there, that if you're a non-GB resident and wish to speak at town meeting, it's a matter of just reaching out. I think you have to reach out at least 3 days ahead to Michael, the moderator, and get his permission to speak.
Yeah, he'll give you written permission, and you can just pass that off to the clerks when you register.
Yeah.
I think you're right. He puts all non-residents in one section just so it's very clear and there's no confusion around voting. And I want to just say, I noticed some new people joining the call. I want to apologize. This call actually started at 10 o'clock this morning. There was some confusion about the posting on our town calendar, and I'm really, really sorry about that. We will get it corrected so that in the future there's no confusion. But in general, it's the first Wednesday at 10 a.m. So just moving on through a couple other quick updates. Our new assessor, Ross Vivori, started Monday morning here at Town Hall. This one's particularly for Richard, who I think is on another call at the moment, but just wanted to let you know that we have a new department head. He's here working, and some of you interact with him regularly. Super nice guy, well qualified. He was the principal assessor in the city of North Adams for the last 10 years, and we're happy to have him here in Great Barrington. So I hope he'll be a resource for you. It's great to have that office occupied again. Public bathrooms, another topic that came up earlier. Just so you know, we did discuss public bathrooms, and originally the plan for staff, we discussed this maybe a year ago, was to present both a parking option and a public restroom option. Public restroom option was a little more challenging and didn't make it into our original draft of the budget this year. However, at the public hearing on March 30th, our local resident, Karen Smith, did chime in and suggest that we add it to our capital plan. So $100,000 was included in our capital plan. And as we approach a town hall, campus redevelopment here, we are planning to include public restrooms, standalone public restrooms, seasonal public restrooms, but still public restrooms. So I think that's a huge step forward for the town, and we'd be looking for your support at town meeting for that initiative as well. Last thing I wanted to mention is the crosswalks. And this touches a little bit on your comment earlier about disruptions downtown, Robin, on holiday weekends. We will start as soon as the weather allows and as soon as the streets are swept to repaint all of our rainbow crosswalks downtown. We'll be adding a few new ones near the library, and I believe another one by Railroad Street Youth Project. So that's exciting. And I just wanted to let you know that we will, of course, try to do that as early in the day as possible so it doesn't interfere with business. But that is something that should be quicker and easier this year because we already have the framework in place. So it's just a quick touch up, let them dry and reopen. And we'll do the same thing we did last year, which is close one lane or close one side and keep the other side open for traffic. So. Any other topics folks would like to cover while we have some time?
I have I think a quick one, or maybe not, and I don't mean to connect this to the parking lot question. What is the status of the town's revenue from cannabis? I know there's 2 buckets of money. Can you explain that to us and what your thoughts are on what that money would be used for?
So this year, as part of
big a deal for the end of the meeting.
This year, as part of the fiscal 22 budget, we are proposing to use about $3.5 million of cannabis revenue to offset taxation, to fund some capital projects that we won't need to bond for. And we also have, I think, somewhere in the range of $350,000 set aside for community impact funding. So that would be to fund local nonprofits through a separate program and a committee. But yes, we are using that money now. This is really the first full year of cannabis revenue that'll be hitting us in the first year that we'll be able to utilize that.
Thank you.
Ani, go ahead.
11,
Yeah.
thinking it started 11, so if this has been addressed, I'm sorry.
I can't hear you. Did everyone else have the same problem?
She was very, very faint.
Okay, just wanted to make sure it wasn't just me.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, much better.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, I came on at 11 thinking it started then, so if this has been discussed, I'm sorry, you can let me know. My question is about sort of the changes in our town due to this influx of new homeowners. And whether there is any kind of movement or group or looking towards the future in how to sort of preserve the character of the town and not allow, given the amount of money that is entering the region, sort of not let it sort of go down that slippery slope of, you know, Old Navies and Brooks Brothers on Main Street sort of thing. If you can speak to that, and if there's anything that citizens can do to get involved, sort of like Rhinebeck has done in preserving Main Street.
Chris, as far as retail stores go, other than limitations on size, we don't have any zoning in place that would prohibit chain stores. Is that correct?
No, Great Barrington does not have any zoning regulations or other regulations that prohibit chain stores. It's been discussed in the last 4 or 5 years. There has not been any widespread push to bring it forward to an actual vote in front of the town meeting voters. So yeah, maybe there is a movement now, in which case I'd encourage you to speak with me and particularly the downtown business community and the planning board. We rely on and have been very fortunate that many of our business owners have been very cognizant about the types of tenants that they recruit and attract and sign leases with. So we've been able to manage a good mix of businesses downtown, mostly independent, owner-operated local businesses, which is great. So kudos to Richard and Robin, particularly Robin, who's been featured as Amex Small Business at least once. So yeah, we've been fortunate in that regard, but it's possible that things will change as real estate prices go up. At some point, an owner does need to fill a space, and you know, there may be a movement for some sort of regulation. There is not now, but we can discuss it.
We've been
Chris, on that point, at least my experience is people tend to be in the retail world, tend to be looking actually for smaller spaces. So for instance, when I built the Beacon, it was programmed to have 2,000 square foot restaurants. And that never happened. That was, you know, it took almost 10 years to make that project happen. But that's the difference. Now a restaurant would be more like 1,200 square feet.
And just one other thing on that topic. At this point, town hall has been focused on reaching out to new residents and bringing them into community conversations. So, you know, that's an opportunity for us to talk about what the future of our town looks like. But we've been focusing more on new homeowners rather than the business community. I haven't heard from any chain stores, anyone looking to really open a new store here other than local mom and pop shops. And I don't think Chris you haven't heard from anyone, correct?
Yeah, Mark, I thought CVS has been actively looking.
Well, they're already here, yes.
Right.
No,
Sure.
no, I mean for, a super sized store.
Right.
I've heard that rumor also, but I don't think they've approached the town in any way. But I am aware that they're looking for a larger location.
Speak to Steve Bannon.
Anyone else? Oh, Phil, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't see your hand up.
Yes, coming back to the, and I may have missed this a bit, but on the parking lot issue, I would say it sort of it hit me over the head again last week or so. We did just a day trip to Williamstown, and they have a incredibly convenient, incredibly well marked large municipal lot, sort of right in the middle of their commercial district. So, it sort of hits you over the head as to how convenient it is. Now, obviously, that's a very different town with a very different set of dynamics, and obviously it's a very, very different situation. But when you looked at the opportunity for the lot on the other side of the tracks, I may have asked you this before on a meeting, so I apologize. But the value that you used to come up with your hypothetical cost of the project, the value of the land, I think you used something like, if my memory is correct, about something like $650,000, and that was based upon a previous listing of that property by the owner.
I believe that's actually based on the appraisal for that property.
The appraisal, okay. I mean, I am not a real estate professional. There are many in town that have a more detailed view of this, but obviously that land has been sitting there unused for, I guess, for the certainly duration of my knowledge of the town, that's probably about 25 years. So to me, the value of that land with respect to the number that you put into your hypothetical cost analysis seems high. Now, obviously, the price of that land is dependent upon where the owner will sell it, and that's that. But I just I obviously, to the extent you could bring that number down, that makes it more of an appealing project for certain people in town. So I just wonder how much, how much back and forth or none has gone into the use of that number.
So that number was the number provided to us by the current property owner. We did discuss as part of the negotiation process a land swap, because that property owner also owns the train station, and in front of the train station is a town-owned parcel that's really not even, you wouldn't be able to tell driving by, but a portion of that front parking lot where the farmer's market used to set up is owned by the town, right down to Taconic Avenue and Castle Hill. So that corner of the property is kind of divided to a certain extent. It's a little complicated because it's not carved out as a parcel on our parcel maps. So it's going to take a little more time, but we had discussed doing a land swap that would offset the price of the other parking lot parcel by about $100,000. And that's still in the works. We just didn't want to tie the two together because the other portion is going to take a little more time.
And I know this is obviously very tricky to do in a town meeting format, but and I know I would just, I think the more that you could, if people are resistant to the project at the cost that you've laid out, as the cost comes down, it becomes more appealing. So practically speaking, it just might be that if this is rejected by the town, then it's probably something that the town could continue to work on and come back to the town meeting at some lower number, and it might be more favorably received.
Absolutely. And also just understand that the parcel was under contract for $850,000 within the last year, I believe. So, you know, it is an industrial zone. It's just on the other side of our Castle Street parking lot. So I hear you, and I totally understand. I'd love nothing more than to bring that price down, because I think we'd have a better shot at selling it at town meeting. But I think
Do we know what the potential use of that property was for that buyer?
I don't. Chris, are you aware? No.
I am, but it's not
Right.
something I can disclose.
Understood. Okay. Thank you.
And again, Philip, we just plan to present the facts at town meeting and let the taxpayers and residents of the community decide whether they think this is something we should invest in long-term. We've also discussed leasing public parking spaces from Wheeler and Taylor, potentially from the Berkshire block. But again, that's not really a long-term fix. It's only a fix for as long as the lease is. So
I would agree. Was Wheeler and Taylor at all open to some type of rental discussion?
yeah, we've had a few conversations with them, and I can't recall exactly what the figure is for renting it annually, but if I remember correctly, it wasn't all that much different than the debt service on the purchase and development of our own parking lot that we would ultimately own and control.
Okay, thank you.
Borrowing right now is probably as low as it's ever going to get, so we have that on our side.
Agreed.
Anyone else with a question or a comment? I apologize. I have an 11:30 meeting that I need to jump off to, but we have a few more minutes if you'd like to cover another topic. No. All right. Well, again, thank you everyone for joining. Chris, thanks for speaking today on the Rapid Recovery Grant. And again, we'll get that calendar invite corrected. And I'm really sorry to those of you that joined us on the late side, and hopefully you can join us next month. Great. Thanks again, everyone. Take care.
Thank you, Mark.